Hello,
Hi.
and welcome to another edition of Story World Explorers, where we're kicking off Season 3 with our competition, A Story World in 8 Days, where we pit 4 creative titans against 4 creative giants in a battle royale of transmedia excellence.
That's right. So this was the big competition that we were hinting, and we ended up having 8 participants joining us, and so we had 2 teams of just absolutely amazing presentations, worlds that were developed in only 8 days. If you didn't believe that we did our world in 8 days, now we have 2 more examples of people doing it. And it was so much fun. The pitches and then the questions and the camaraderie that would develop from it was just absolutely phenomenal. So we're going to dive right in. What you're going to see is the spinning of the theme wheel to know what got chosen as the theme. And then we're going to dive right into the presentations from each of the 2 teams. And interspliced, you'll see us again, and we'll give you a little context as to what was going on. We didn't want this to be a 5.5-hour podcast. It did take a long time to record, and there was a lot of dead time, so we're editing around a lot of that stuff and using us as narrative tools to progress the story. So sit back, relax, and enjoy
the show.
Anchors up.
Away we go.
We're going to spin the wheel, the theme wheel.
Whoa.
We're very excited about this. The amount of work that had to go into getting this theme wheel to spin properly.
As you can see, we had to
Jerry rig it.
It was
Guys, I got to tell you, Jack and Frank were so insistent that there be a wheel. There had to be a wheel. So props to them. They made it happen.
We don't know which ones are which either.
Yeah, right.
All right, we're going.
All right, it's green. Culinary horror.
Culinary horror.
It's going to be backwards, but...
Oh, yeah, it's going to be backwards. All right, culinary horror is your theme. Culinary horror.
Cool. We weren't going to make it easy for you.
Yeah, no, that's not... That was one of them that we're like, okay. So again, right, when we got Cozy Post-Apocalypse, we've told that to 1,000 different people, and everybody came up with a different story world based on it. So, and culinary horror, whatever that
equally
means.
terrified.
You're saying horror or horror?
Horror.
They're definitely saying
not
horror.
No, not Daryl.
Horror. A culinary horror. Culinary horror.
I can't, because I gave Chris the controls here, I can't send messages anymore to everybody because the host has to verify that I can.
Culinary horror. Horror.
Okay, good. At first I was like, horror, okay, we're out
Culinary
there.
horrors. I mean, there could be,
that's an interesting take on it.
Yeah. So the theme wheel had spoken. Culinary horror. Horror.
That's right, and we sent our participants off into their groups that they did not know prior to this moment. They got split off into breakout rooms, and then the challenge really started.
Yeah, just like with anything, exploring new worlds, it's tough.
Yeah, so they had to navigate time schedules. It's not like they all took the week off of work.
Yeah.
There were people that were in a different time zone completely from the United States. So, and a lot of different styles of creativity that needed to mesh. Mm-hmm. And then through those 8 days, the Discord channel was lighting up constantly, and they had their own little sections. And so now, let's go into what they came up with our first presentation.
Consumers is a B-horror franchise that explores the truly terrifying aspect of life that we all take for granted, eating. It explores the horrors of what it is like to be a consumer of products, to exist as a food product, and the insatiable void that lies at our center, our stomachs. In the name of science and capitalism, humans have begun experimenting into the mutation of food animals in order to sell a bigger, cheaper product. Our story starts with a chicken. A super mutant chicken, a were chicken. Please tell me you can hear that music.
No.
Nope. All right. Well, I was just dancing to myself. We'll insert the were chicken song. Her name is Head Henrietta, and her mutation gives her, among other things, sapience. She escapes from the laboratory with several others and leads to the formation of an alliance known as the Farm Animal Rebel Mutants, also known as Just Farm. Together they wage war against and eventually take down their oppressors, the monopoly of fast food owners, or the mofos. Along the way, these once herbivorous creatures Come on. Develop the taste and the need to eat human flesh. And so in phase one, our first product is Escape the Farm. Go ahead, Chris.
All right. So in Consumers Escape the Farm, we have the Were Chicken and Friends Against the Mofo, where the serum worked a little too well. So, like they said, that attempt to make bigger, tastier, meatier chicken and fast food, the monopoly of fast food owners created the serum. When injected into poultry or livestock or seafood, the injected creature mutates into a hideous beast and gains that sentience that Max was talking about. The chicken, Henrietta, has gained sentience and mutated, causing it to break the cage inside the laboratory and freeing two other of its pals, a cow, Cowabunga, and a shark, Captain Gill, who team up to escape the labyrinth of corridors in the part fast food, part laboratory, all backroom style while being pursued by the mofos themselves. Now, this is a TTRPG record hybrid project. So it's a record with the music acts as a timer, and it gives hints and clues to the puzzles on the booklet within the music. And at certain times, there's battles with the mofos who've been pursuing them, and the players play out by rolling dice and flipping coins and solving the puzzles in the maze and the labyrinth that is this booklet that comes with a record. There's no DM needed. It's all within the music, and it's all within the accompanying record sleeve. We think this is a good marriage because the scary sounds of animal horror and the scratching record in the background can really get people into the world of consumers while they play Consumers Escape the Farm.
Go ahead, Steele, with how the sausage is made.
Yes. So How the Sausage is Made is a social video series that's going to encourage users to craft their own stories set in the story world with parameters that we're going to give out so that people can kind of play with the narrative that is being given with the TTRPG, with the music, and potentially showcase what they are interested in this world. There's going to be data collection to see what people like about it. And we're going to heavily curate this for a period of about 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks or so, that will include a weekly best of segment that we highlight what we're going for so that people can focus on that content and begin to build out their story world and build out our own story world as well, so that we can not just tell a story, but have people share a story with us via whatever platform they might like.
And then we have Ham Radio. Go ahead, Amanda.
All right, introducing Ham Radio featuring PI Piggy. So this hot new podcast is going to serve old school broadcasting, TV, and radio vibes, where our host will walk us through this current phenomenon. As one of the first sentient animals, we're going to be able to get to follow along in this journey. Across the world, we're going to see enhanced livestock are rebelling, dolphins are shutting down shipping routes, and much more. And what humans dismiss as system failures are, to the animals, acts of awakening. So PI Piggy is here to report it all, each season getting deeper and more conscious, and definitely receiving oinktastic reviews. Let's tune in. As the signal is traced and time runs out, PI Piggy delivers a final message. This is not an invasion or revenge, but a long-delayed conversation. Humanity has lost exclusive ownership of the world's narrative. Their experiment did not fail. It woke up.
So moving into phase two, our animals have broken out and defeated the fast food owners, but the food industry has to keep running. So Farm, now named the Society of Omnivores, or SOW, Society of Omnivorous Wildlife, has officially taken over all of the world's restaurants. You got Shrimp Shack, you got Mother Cluckers, you got Beef Barn, made by animals for animals. While they begin as vegetarian food joints, this mutation is creating this overall hunger for meat, and this hunger is increasing. An unfortunate side effect of removing the apex predator from a food chain is that the remaining population becomes too numerous and it depletes the resources even faster. So now, in order to save their species, they've got to start eliminating the competition. Tensions rise as the animals begin cannibalizing one another. The leaders of SOW wrestle with this existential horror of becoming the thing that they had destroyed, and then they start to develop experimental cooking tactics to compete with their business adversaries, each other.
All right, so
Amanda.
next up, yeah, we have the Animals Digest. So this recipe cookbook that quite literally gives us a taste of what we read into the characters and their current take on the chaos they're undergoing. So we'll get a chance to see what these top chefs are up to. We got our 3 teams here. And so going to, again, introducing a character from each team as they share their story. It's going to serve as a journal to get even deeper into the minds of our characters. And so be sure to check out our top 3 lore books. We have Chef Cowabunga's Guide to Seafood. We have Head Hen Henrietta's famous Eat Meat, No Chicken Required. And of course, Under the Sea, More Poultry for Me by your favorite, Captain Gill.
All right, now we have Apex Predator Consumers. It is a real-time strategy game with a fast food simulator added in. We have our main characters, and they all lead their separate different sort of armies that take over other armies in order to feed them at their fast food restaurants. So the Poultry Platoon, the Meat Legion, and the Seafood Squadron. Humans have been pushed out to the edges of society, so now they're feeding on each other, as Max touched on. And those imagery are some of the looks of it. Here's the imagery of, you know, like a Civ 6 type thing where you'll be like moving your armies around. Here's some of the like restaurant style where there'll be murders and killing. You must fight NPC human mobs sometimes as they attack. You can have a main campaign where you're following the character and the story that they're going through as they're waking up to the fact that they're actually killing their own kind and feeding off their own animal kind. This is going to be a frightening battlefields and surprise attack jump scares. So it's going to be focused on surprise attacks when it comes down to the actual battles in this game. And that is Consumers Apex Predator.
And then Chris? Sorry, Steele?
Yes. So for mine, every part but the oink. This is a vertical webcomic anthology series that uses up-and-coming artists to tell a self-contained story in our universe, which could potentially be collected in a book later on. Think something like Twilight Zone, Consumer Edition, where we can explore the various factions and various individuals within that faction, and also use these up-and-coming artists and their social their cachet to help spread the word and showcase in the same way that we had How the Sausage is Made with TikTok, but in a much more curated form, numerous stories, numerous series, numerous voices to show the breadth of this story world, hopefully also focusing on some of the RTS elements and the cookbook elements that come with this act as well, so that we've got cross-pollination and a traditional narrative to help share with a more traditional audience if they would like that kind of thing.
And then moving on to sort of the phase 3 of our consumers brand, we're getting more into the existential horror of it all. And one such side effect of the mutation, the experimentation, is the development of multiple species of animals who can now photosynthesize and therefore have no need to consume anything. And so these animals are horrified by their kin, whose entire existence is predicated on pain and death and suffering just to survive. And so a group of these new mutated animals was formed, and they call themselves the Sunsustenance, led by the great Holy Cow. And they enlist the help of the remaining humans who have since reverted to kind of a more primal state to end the society of omnivorous wildlife once and for all, and to build a world where nothing has to die in order for another to live. Steele?
We start off with Smorgasbord. This is it's an off-Broadway, off-kilter, off-the-wall musical that uses a limited cast in many parts, a la Little Shop of Horrors, or perhaps the 39 Steps, or more recently Six, in which each of the main barnyard characters that remain would have a solo that tells the story of this revolutionary group of animals as they try to revolutionize this system that they turned on their head and they realize they cannot control anymore. This would collect elements from the other bits of this act. I'm not going to go too much into them. I'm going to allow my colleagues to pitch their own work. but there are elements of the uncaged experience, the convention content that's going to be pitched, and there's going to be something along the line of Pink Floyd's Animals album in terms of imagery, or of course, perhaps Animal Farm, as this revolution turns in on itself. Very rollicking, very bold, bodacious, that has multiple touch points. So winnowing further down into a singular experience, and yet still having that multiplicity, those multiple voices within a much bigger musical.
And then we have the uncaged experience.
All right. This is Consumers Uncaged. The factions have had enough of duking it out, and this can happen at a theme park or something like that. Some kind of theme park. They decided to take the best fighters from all of them and have a big fight between like a were-chicken, tentacle cow, zombie shark, the puppets, costumes, and the pomp and circumstance of a medieval time show. And this can happen at like a Universal Studios or something like that. It's got some of the creepy music that's been put into the series for a while. And it's a lot like the 20-Sided Tavern on Broadway, where you actually have your phone, where you're deciding with your phone what kind of things are going to be happening during the battles, and you're deciding what attacks are going to be going down. And what you order that day is actually what faction you get put into based on what they're serving and what each of the factions are serving. Now, the humans are obviously caged, but the cage is on the scene. And we think that this would be a really good marriage. It'd give the fans that in-person experience and finally taste the food from the series that they've been hearing so much about. And that is Consumers Uncaged.
All right, so welcome to Consumers Convention, aka ConCon, which is going to be a real-world style fan convention staged inside the absurd world of consumers. So this convention is going to feel half expo, half propaganda fair, where our animal mascots are going to be hosting nonstop PSAs about ethical appetite, pamphlet wielding volunteers preaching brand loyalty like civic duty, and food courts are run by sharply dressed cows and chickens who are going to upsell merch as aggressively as meals. Also seeing like everything we've been talking about, people are going to be there promoting, playing these games, all of that. And then at the center, we're going to have our group Sustenance, led by their holy leader, Holy Cow, which is our GMO veg head entity surviving on photosynthesis. Holy Cow is going to be on banners, holograms, wellness panels. They're going to be pausing mid-keynote to shamelessly promote branded solar hats, chlorophyll drinks, and limited edition Eat Less, Absorb More t-shirts. ConCon.
And that is Consumers. Let's get cooking.
So what I really liked about the Consumers was the way they married two different mediums together, and how they also built in really cool ways for the audience to engage in the story and help shape it. I think that was really something that was really cool. One of my setbacks with it is that it was like very high on the micro or the macro level, but it kind of lacked a little bit of that story substance, those characters that we fall in love with and we want to continue to explore the world with.
Yeah, it was definitely a question from you as the judges, and Houston Howard and Chris Mason, about whether what was the driving force behind it. I loved all the different marriages and platforms and mediums. You really geek out about that stuff, especially the vinyl with the TT RPG, which is just a really cool thing to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, and for me, as some of our audience knows, and you definitely know, I love to hear about audiences. I love to hear about who they're approaching, and how they're going to make that connection. There was evidence that they were thinking about it, but it wasn't exclusively said. And there wasn't really a plan put forward. So
what demographic, what underserved community needs this product, I think was what we were looking for.
But ultimately, it was just a lot of fun to listen to. All the puns, everybody loved the puns that were going on. And it was great that Culinary Horror War wasn't all death, doom, and gloom, but had a lot of comedic elements to it.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go off to presentation number 2.
Cool. Okay, so welcome to our world, the Cosmic Cookbook of Lucius Crane. So the sort of high-level hook for this world, it is all about a disgraced fine dining chef who returns sort of to his sleepy mountain hometown to reopen an abandoned diner that was once run by his grandfather, who subsequently went mad and disappeared. So our hero Lucius, he sort of sets up this diner, and while he's sort of exploring the boxes of notes and old receipts and things like that, he discovers an unusual cookbook. This cookbook was written by his grandfather many years ago. And it contains all these weird recipes that almost have like a ritualistic feel to them. He tries out one of these recipes and accidentally unleashes a Lovecraftian fast food apocalypse. And this prompts him and his teenage staff of line cooks to sort of travel to another dimension, track down ingredients for strange recipes, and cook their way to saving humanity from this apocalypse. Next slide. So, in a nutshell, this is a world that is about a forbidden cookbook. Think the Necronomicon, but instead of spells to summon Cthulhu, it is recipes utilizing Cthulhu, shall we say. It's a world about a monstrous fast food chain. This is, I believe we called it Transcendent Tastes is the name of the fast food chain. And basically they are popping up all over the country in response to Lucius's first sort of interaction with the cookbook. It's highly addictive, everyone loves it, and it has a mysterious secret ingredient that is used in all of their dishes that we have called, for the sake of time, gloop. Lastly, this is a world about a multiverse that answers hunger with horror, right? So we'll get into this a little bit more once we get to our narrative pillars. But the idea is that there is a larger sort of interdimensional storyline going on here, and that storyline is very much defined by these ideas of consumption versus the consumer, the consumed versus the consumer, the devoured versus the devourers. It's all sort of based around this idea of dog eat dog, I guess. Next slide. So this is, who's taking this one?
I got it. The tone in which this world exists is something that's quite mysterious, whimsical, and Lovecraftian at nature. Think Twin Peaks meets Supernatural meets Arcane, a little bit of Pan's Labyrinth vibe where you're entering a world unknown. But it's truly a world that's doused in greed and gluttony and our addictive qualities related to consumerism. When you have someone who's able to create things that feel magnetic and exciting, yet horrific and mysterious, you never know what's going to unfold. Will you be changed by these things or will you be consumed by them?
All right, back to me. Okay, so these are our narrative pillars. The Devoured and the Devourers, Culinary Cosmic Horror, Folksy Uncanny Americana, and The Cost of Excellence. I'm going to go through them really quickly and just sort of give a bit more information about what each pillar means. So the Devoured and the Devourers, this speaks to the kind of character archetypes that appear in our world. So we've got, as the name would suggest, those who are devoured versus those who devour. So all of our characters are defined by their relationship to appetite, to power, to consumption. Some characters might seek to create, nourish, and serve, while others seek to dominate, extract, and consume. Many characters would sort of occupy that unstable space between these two poles. So we're thinking characters that are like chefs, critics, customers, rivals, Lovecraftian gods and monsters. They're all bound to this sort of hierarchy. Power in our world is transactional. No position is permanent, right? The next pillar, culinary cosmic horror, this speaks to the sort of overall genre of the IP. So this is a world where cooking acts as a key to unlocking the terrible unknown. Food is more than sustenance, it's forbidden knowledge. Preparation becomes ritual, forcing encounters with vast, incomprehensible powers. Through cooking and consumption, our ordinary mortal characters are drawn into conflicts that are far greater than their own understanding. Appetites shape reality. The kitchen exists almost like a threshold to places far beyond the borders of sanity, if you will. And magic in our world is expressed through culinary rituals. So recipes, as I mentioned earlier, function like spells, ingredients like occult artifacts. Meanwhile, preparation, plating, and eating sort of have this power to reshape reality. So the world is ultimately governed by appetite instead of abstract or scientific laws. So to consume something is to bind yourself to it, for better or for worse. Our next pillar is the folksy uncanny. In our world, the impossible is made livable through ritual, routine, and culture. No matter how alien or horrific a place might be, inhabitants treat the strange as familiar, and cosmic horror is sort of embedded into everyday systems of work, care, and survival. So there's a lot of whimsy and humor to sort of counterweight gore, horror, and dread. And reality sort of operates on dream logic. We mentioned Twin Peaks earlier as an influence, so think that sort of Lynchian vibe, or even like the video games Alan Wake 1 and 2, which also sort of use that style, that sort of atmosphere. So in this world, the dream logic and the sort of this repetition of ritual slowly exposes the unsettling truths behind the veil. And then, where are we? The last one, the cost of excellence. So this is more the message, I guess, of the IP. So our world sort of takes aim at and interrogates concepts of ambition and mastery. It's all about sort of the pursuit of excellence, whether this is culinary, artistic, or cosmic. It all demands sacrifice. So the idea is that when stripped of empathy, excellence and ambition sort of curdles into exploitation. So we're sort of asking our audience where they believe the line between craft and cruelty sits. And ultimately the message of the world is that true greatness has to be measured by care, restraint, and the relationships that we choose to nourish. Next slide.
So here we have our visual pillars. Warm dinner lighting versus alien bioluminescence. Ritual spell circles as culinary diagrams. Decay layered beneath nostalgia. Now to go a little bit more into each one, the warm dinner lighting is a great way to kind of flip a horror view. You got somebody, is being killed, being murdered, being mutated, but you don't see like the dark, foreboding lights we normally see in horror around it. Instead, you got like a gentle light on it. Hits you a little bit differently. Think arcane animation mixed with the Lovecraftian twist. So you'll get moments of normalcy and then it'll just shift, just go left on you. Ritual spell circles as culinary diagrams. We use a lot of supernatural and magic in this world. When Lucian, the hero, the hero chief will say, when they cook their meals, the very, very last step, they actually form a spell circle around the food. Then go ahead and do a chant. Meal is done. Give it to the people. Um, it's a great way, a great tool to show a little bit of the arcane in the culinary light. Making it's an important process. It's the finishing process of the whole thing. Decade laid beneath nostalgia. Imagine you seeing a pie in front of you, delicious. You go ahead and you go to cut into it. As you cut into it, you're seeing mold in between the layers. But it still looks so good. It still smells so good. And as you consume this, it's slowly mutating you, making you less and less human. Um, in our story, we show that in a bunch of different ways. One of them, you start to see boils appear on varying parts of people's bodies. You'll see their eyes start to change to going black. Once their eyeballs hit fully black, they are fully mutated. There is no coming back. They are lost soul. And some of those people become a bit more rage and infused. They get locked into the desire to consume, period. They don't care about anything else but what their next meal is. All this is still wrapped in a normal looking environment. Like you're walking outside your door one day and you see a pack of them just running by with cleavers, chasing a person because they want to eat them. All right, next slide.
Okay. Oh, a little too quick. Hold on, we'll go back. So our soapbox for this story world is, what is the cost of ambition and power? We all know that when you reach great success, whether that be in the culinary arts or different forms beyond it, financially, socially, and beyond, you have to sacrifice something in order to touch the masses. And so we play on the horrors of that true reality of what really is the cost of striving and impacting the world in this way. Essentially, our high concept is that when a culinary wonder is unleashed and a new kind of cuisine is introduced, it actually triggers an addictive quality that makes people consume this otherwise disgusting food and ingredients that the audience would uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Gag at. There we go. That's a good one. The audience would otherwise gag at. Uh, the people within the story world actually are lured into this food in an insidious way because of this secret ingredient, which we'll later introduce. Lucius then goes from being a perpetual F up to the key holder to a new society that's ruled by consumption, ruled by the mystery of a new dimension, and ruled by a decaying zombification of its people. Our sandbox rules. So these are the qualities that we kind of touched on earlier. Gloop is the name of this insidious ingredient that's found in the other dimension. It's something that exists in all of their different foods and native inhabitants, that is incorporated into Lucius's meals that he starts to spread through this mountain town and then eventually throughout the world through his fast food franchise. This becomes single-handedly the ingredient that takes over Earth and takes us from the reality that we exist in today into the world of Lucius Crane's cookbook. The Black Larder is the name of this mysterious book that he had inherited, and it's quite literally the mechanic that completely shifts the world onto its head. Looming over the entirety of the universe, but specifically our lens on reality on Earth and this new dimension that is opened through the portal of the Black Larder, is the Gourmand Court. They are a shiftless, goalless, all-consuming, godlike court that wants to completely take over the universe through food and cuisine. And so people like our characters within this story world become easy targets, very egotistical and very easy to manipulate into feeding into their demands and using as pawns to take over the universe.
Just gonna cut in here real quickly, guys. Say that technically you've been going for 15 minutes now. I know we haven't gotten past the first part. Maybe you want to talk about your products
Yeah, let's
and
skip
skip
through.
over the rest of the story world introduction.
Um, we kind of touched on all these characters, so are you guys okay if we skip through the characters and go straight into our properties?
Go ahead.
Hold on. Yeah, that was the next one. For folklore elements, I think we can also skip through. Okay.
Who's taking this one, guys? Is it you, Da Vinci? Okay, I'll take this.
Oh, sorry, my thing on mute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Cookbook of Lucius Crane, first entry. This is a book which will be our very first entry into the world. This one here actually has the majority of the meals that you'll see throughout the series, within the world. Within the margins and the corners of the book are scribbles, little notes done by Lucius's grandfather. He also puts notes in there as well as to successes and failures within some of the meals. Also, under each meal, there's a code that can later be used in another part of our product line to affect it. Next.
I think this is you again, Da Vinci.
Let's see. Yes, it is. The Messe and Place Mythos Webtoon World Expander. Here is where you get to see a lot of the meals. We worked out a animated series where we have a meal of the week, where you get to see the hero Lucius Crane and his team go into the other dimension using the restaurant and the book as the engine. So in each episode, you'll see him go and deal with a new task, a new race of beings, creatures. And as he goes throughout this, learn a little bit more about what's really going on behind the scenes. Next slide.
Cool. And so the last sort of the big release would be a AAA video game. So basically, this is Lucius and his team have drawn the attention of the Gorman court gods too much, and they are abducted to take place in a interdimensional cooking tournament. So the game would sort of focus on like a gameplay loop that incorporates a lot of sort of cooking gameplay. We were looking at like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, the way that they handle cooking and ingredients. This would be sort of in combination with more of like a tournament style thing. Think some of the Pokemon games, Yu-Gi-Oh, that sort of approach, and then mixing that with survival horror elements and sort of light RPG mechanics as well.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to get cut off, but I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible in, I guess, 30 seconds. So, this Cosmic Cookbook sounds fantastic, right? And we have an audience for it. In fact, a survey by the New York Post surveyed 2,000 US adults that celebrated Halloween and revealed that more than 2/3 of Americans enjoyed horror movies when they were a child, and 72% actually still enjoy horror movies today. So we will target the 18 to 34 bracket. as well as a secondary reach to our teenagers who also use horror as almost a rite of passage to adulthood, or in my case, reading adult manga when I was 14. We're going to be catering to audiences who are high sensation seeking, high empathy, strong interest in food culture and speculative worlds. We're going to be using different community building skills or strategies by creating whisper campaigns on all these different platforms, and also creating servers for people to discuss, and as well as Patreon and creating in-person meetups through secret puzzle solving. Next. So why this world matters. Again, 72% of US audiences report liking or loving the genre. We also will be targeting a couple different underserved niches right now, which include actually comedy horror and sci-fi horror. We are going to start in the US market and build a cult fandom through low cost, high engagement entry points like social media and also discussion forums as well. We'll also try to use Slasher, which is a horror app actually, that's like for the communities of the horror genre, right? And we will also reach out to different podcasts that discuss these genres and even collaborate with hosts on episodes and sell artwork from the franchise. Next. In terms of merchandising, we're going to create QR code-based scavenger hunts through cities and public places with hidden artwork that you can click the QR code and have that become a point. We're going to have a leaderboard, and whoever wins gets a really cool prize, whether that's a private talk with one of the game designers or one of the narrative writers. Anyway, just something to kind of drill it up. Organizational partnerships. We're going to work with culinary schools to recreate dishes from the cookbooks, as well as creating educational partnerships to work with places that provide education on space, like a space museum, to talk about other dimensions and kind of relate it to the cookbook itself. And in terms of brand collaborations, we are going to work with celebrity chefs on an actual cookbook release with recipes that people can make unless they have a teleportation device to go to another world. And we're also going to collaborate with Spirit Halloween so we can create these costumes for these characters and also the props from the story world. And we're also going to use art prints, ritual tools, and collector editions to be able to merchandise and grow the brand. Next. Why this
And this
story?
is the last slide. Perfect.
Yep. Why this story? It's amazing. It looks at concepts of morality, and it also has a supernatural touch as well as the horror touch, and it's very expandable. We're done. Go team. We survived.
What I love about the Cosmic Cookbook of Lucius Crane, and anything that Nick Jones touches, you know you're going to have Angry Gods. You're going to have this very well thought out story world that has all these the little intricacies of what makes a world feel alive, and those narrative pillars and all of the different things that were going on even prior. I mean, they took a long time to get to the content, but the actual transmedia stuff they were going to make. But you felt very comfortable in that world well before even having to hear about the different types of mediums.
And I think one of the drawbacks or one of the pitfalls of transmedia is that it is so sprawling. This story world had a very clear border of what is it and what isn't it.
Yeah,
I think that came through in their presentation. That came through in the stories that they were developing. It was and I think the way they tethered their story to culinary horror, it wouldn't be. I mean, there's no question about what this theme is.
Right.
In this, there's never. It wasn't. Oh, is this like this? It's this, and the way they worked their magic system into chefs and cooking, I think was very well done. And they gave us just they hooked us in with these stories and with these characters that I think really helps get it into what a wider world could look like.
Right. Yeah, the main drawback wasn't the content itself, but was the amount of time that it took. We gave our participants 15 minutes. I believe they took 20 something, 20 plus minutes to get through it. It's important to always rehearse your things. You never know how much attention. We're very attentive though. So now, well, after the conclusion of that presentation, Jack, Houston, and Chris went off into their separate breakout room. I got to talk to our participants about their experience, but now let's cut right to the white smoke. Who won and why? We'll hear from each one of the judges as to what their opinion was, and feedback for each one of the presentations.
I thought that we had two really strong presentations here. I'm touched that you guys have followed through with this crazy assignment, and that there's other weirdos like us out there who would just volunteer their time to building stories in the air, you know. So in terms of each team, so I thought that consumers, I loved the tone of your world, the variety of products that you offered. I felt like there's some missed opportunities in, I guess, foregrounding your characters, and about foregrounding what could really make them sticky. You know, we touched on it a bit with the mutations, but I feel like building that in and making it more central would help you to build something from the beginning, from the ground up. I get people hooked early. For the Cosmic Cookbook, I thought that you really know your world really well on sort of a meta level. You understand the pillars and its concerns, and you're really good at articulating that. Like, we couldn't even get through it all, but you had so much to say about it. But there were some missed opportunities there, I thought, in the products themselves. I felt like they didn't have the sort of innovation and sort of cross media touch points that I was kind of looking for. And there's also some missed opportunities, as we pointed out, with like the order that you planned, and maybe the video game is scoped. It could be scoped better. But overall, for me, it was close. Houston, do you want to jump in?
Sure. So, a lot of interesting conversation we're having back there. We talked about a lot of different things. For me, like it was a fascinating comparison. It's a fascinating juxtaposition when compared and contrasted the two projects, because consumers, I think you all had a really good understanding of like the macro arc of the world. Like you really, it had a clear path and it developed over time. And you knew exactly where you were going on the highest level as the world developed, which is really cool. I think where you all struggled was on the micro level of the storytelling, and so that boots on the ground, not having that clear POV, not knowing who to root for, like the individual stories, like the narrative of the individual stories felt underdeveloped. And maybe it's because it was a 12-course meal you're trying to service, but then maybe if you would have if we'd had a 3 or 4-course meal, you'd have some bandwidth to be able to do that. But you hit a home run on the macro. The micro was where we were suffering. I think on the cookbook, the Cosmic Cookbook side, the micro storytelling was great. Like I understood what especially during the Q&A when you Nick, you explained the cookbook and the webtoon and understand the narrative of the video game even better. I feel like we have a clear POV. We have a clear emotional way into the stories. They felt like real stories, which was awesome. But in the inverse, I feel like in the macro, it's like I don't know where we're headed with the world, and it's almost like we barely kind of just stepped our foot into this world, and there wasn't like a clear narrative ramp for me of where we're headed. So I feel like you all were like the exact inverse of each other, where one team had great macro with some struggling micro, and then was flipped for the Cosmic Cookbook. But for me, like the big thing for me is when we talk about transmedia, it's transmedia storytelling, and the only way people ever will understand your macro is if they fall in love with the micro. Like they have to fall in love with those individual stories in order to, because you think about it, like your macro story. The only way your macro story is ever communicated to an audience is through the consumption of the individual micro stories. Because the macro story isn't necessarily memorialized anywhere. So the only way people will then see the grand vision and the understanding of the grand arc is as they travel through those individual micro stories. But if you can't get them to do that because we undercook those micro stories, then the macro vision fails, right? So we have to be able to nail it on a micro story level in order to serve that macro story. So if that makes sense, but it was interesting to see almost polar opposite approaches, side by side.
Yeah, and so piggybacking off of that, for the consumers, I really appreciated the combination of the mediums, the combinations of how you guys developed what your story containers were. I just don't know. One of the things is that there was a lack of like this smaller scale characters that we could follow through that kind of could anchor in and fill those containers with something that someone would want to consume. That was like what Houston was saying. It was like the exact opposite with the Cosmic Cookbook, where it was like we were kind of put into these really small stories that felt like they were opening up into a wider world. And so yeah, I think it's just like interesting different ways of thinking and how you guys went from like one seemed like it went from a top down, the other one from the bottom up. And it's like it's just two different ways of approaching the concept.
Yeah, before we reveal the winner here, the great news is there are two teams, so everybody gets a medal. This is for gold and silver.
Gold and silver. Gold and silver.
There we go. That's perfect. But like, listen, but to both teams, like 8 days of development, and sometimes in some respects, like cross-continental communication. Like both of you all did such a great job pulling this together quickly, right? And with the luxury of time, like if you all wanted to continue to let this cook in the background, pun intended, I think you could. All these things that we're talking about are easily fixable things. There was nothing like fundamentally flawed about either one of them where it's like we just need to ditch this whole crazy thing. And they're both super cool projects that would be interesting to continue on. So congratulations to both teams for sure. It was really cool.
I think you can all be proud to put this in your portfolio and talk about it in the future, something that you helped to co-create. That said, we have to choose a winner, and the winner that we've chosen, I'm waiting for you to edit in a drum roll. There it is. Is Lucius Crane's Cosmic Cookbook. Congratulations.
Woo!
That's one thing that doesn't. Yeah. That's one thing on Zoom that just doesn't work well.
Yeah,
like
right.
Cheering and congratulations. There's no thunderous applause.
Yeah.
Congratulations, crickets.
It's like we're all in our little echoey rooms.
Yeah, right. Congratulations, guys.
And
Yeah,
now
that was.
The Dust Bowl
the
rolls
second place
past.
Yeah, Chris, you got to announce the second place
winner.
Oh, congratulations to our second place winner, Consumers.
Yeah. Great job.
And you're all part of history because this is the first of many
right.
around the story world in 8 days competitions.
So there you have it, the inaugural champion of champions, stories of stories, the fabulist of our generation.
Transmedia excellence has been crowned.
On to the Cosmic Cookbook of Lucius Crane.
That's right. It's fantastic. It was one of those situations that everybody gets a medal.
Yep.
We had two participating teams, and this is totally not a knock on consumers, because they did a fantastic job as well. It really did come down to the wire, as you had heard. A Story World in 8 days seems like it's here to stay, and we will be doing another one eventually, maybe to conclude season 3. We'll see. We have an open registration now on our website, storyworldexplorers.com, where you can put your name into the hat to be a participant the next time we do it. And you pay attention to our channel here. If you're on LinkedIn, if you're on YouTube, or if you're just going to our website, you'll see the updates coming of when that next challenge might be, and we'll let you know. If you're interested in being a guest in season 3, there's also a page on our website that you can put down your Story World and see if you get on the show. We're always looking for new guests. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and on to a great season 3.